I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, gang, what's going on? It's Dave. We are back. And, one of the things that we work on when I meet with people individually is to make sure we develop a in-your-face type of mindset, because I know I need that. Daily in my life. So, and if I had to describe ADHD, I think one of the best descriptions would be out of sight, out of mind. And again, not that I would know anything about that in my personal life, right? But I think we need stuff. We need stuff in front of us to capture our attention. So that's what we're going to talk about today: is how we can implement some visual cues and prompts for you busy adults with ADHD. And I have the perfect person to chat. Sara Olsher. She's the founder of Mighty and Bright. She runs an organization that creates very useful products to help people with many types of visual structure. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat about this.
Yeah, because I know that I will fully admit, I work with executives. I work with busy professionals. I've worked with people with PhDs. We try and come up with the system that works. But I got to tell you, sometimes I just slap a Post-it in front of my keyboard at night. I'm as caveman as it gets, So, because I just need to jot something down, and it just needs to be in my face. So,
Yeah.
So I'm eager to chat about this, because it is a lifelong challenge for us to be able to keep things in our face and get things done with it. So, but before we chat about that, why don't you tell us briefly about Mighty and Bright?
Yeah, so I basically started this company when my daughter was little. She was like 18 months old, and I went through a divorce. And I was trying to figure out how to help her with some anxiety that she was having. And I actually took her to a toddler therapist, and the therapist was going on vacation and created this really hideous visual calendar using construction paper and Dora the Explorer stickers. And the idea was to show her what to expect from her missed appointment. And the whole way home, I was thinking, you know, if this is useful for missing one appointment with a therapist, how much would it help her to know when she's going to see her dad next and which days are school days? And so the first visual schedule that I came out with was the first co-parenting calendar for kids. There was nothing like this out there. And I really just ran it that way for probably 6 years on the side of my day job. And I would just wake up early and work on it. And then 6 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I ended up taking a year off from work. And it really messed with my cognitive abilities. I ended up, I've not had a diagnosis of ADHD, just but I have very similar patterns to, what I need in order to make my life work for me.
Right.
Um, and so I just kind of started developing systems in my house to help me. But then at the same time, I also realized that life is more complicated, for most people. Like it's not just, kids who are facing divorce. Kids have a parent with, an illness. Kids have an illness themselves. Kids, are not able to keep information in their heads the way that neurotypical adults can. And so that's why visual schedules are so helpful for them. So I started developing like a whole line of these things, to help people in different situations. And then I met Casey Davis, who is a therapist on TikTok. She has, I think, 2.5 million followers at this point. And she had a way of helping people clean their houses if they are have ADHD, or for in her case, she started talking about this because she has ADHD and then she had severe postpartum depression. And
Hmm.
so she ended up living in a depression house and couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And so
Yeah.
she developed these ways of looking at a messy house as having only five, things in it: trash, things that have a place, things that don't have a place, dishes, and laundry. And so that way of, simplifying things for people just really hit me as like, this needs to be a schedule, because at this point, like everything in my life needs to be visual. I
Yeah.
really believe in them. And so I reached out to her and created a line of charts based on her teachings. And that was really the beginning of being able to create things for adults that were really functional. So that's kind of the quick version.
Yeah. No, no, I th that that you see this on Shark Tank all the time. Somebody saw a need, they started part-time, early mornings, late at night,
Yeah.
weekends, all this stuff, and then it just took off. And I think that's
Yeah.
sounds like that's what happened, because obviously
Yes.
there's a need. I mean, when I work with people individually, we, like I said, we work on all types of like visual cues, or and where does it go, and I've used things like tabletop clipboards, and I mean, I'm talking as
Mhm.
caveman as it gets,
Yeah.
just to and then where do I put it? Do I put it on my kitchen counter? Where
Hmm.
where am I going to see it? So those types of things. So yeah, so I think that it's great that you found that need, because there certainly is one, especially in this
Hmm.
in this community here. So
Yeah, for
what
sure.
um uh what have you found uh when it comes to like different brains, or for that matter anybody that's busy, that just or have gone through certain events in their life? What is it about those kind of visual cues that resonate with people's brains?
Yeah, the science of it is actually really clear. I'm totally a nerd about this, so I did a deep dive on why does this work so well? For people with ADHD, we usually have a really strong visual memory, which means that when you see something, it tends to stick in your brain better than if you only hear or read it. That's true for kids too. Kids like visually, like they have to see things over and over again in order to learn. And then no matter what your age or your degree of neurosparkly, as I like to say,
Mhm.
our brains process images 60,000 times faster than they process text.
Mhm.
And 90% of the information that is transmitted to the brain is visual. So there's just something about the visual aspect of it with like images. So all of the way that the charts work is we have three different types of charts, like a weekly, a daily, and then like a task chart. And then we have these little pieces, like they're either magnets or these like thick foam pieces, depending on what type of chart you get. And there's all these reusable stickers that are all interchangeable with it. So you can build the system that works for you with whatever it is that you need to remember. And each one of them has both like the text of the issue that you're trying to deal with
Yeah.
and an actual picture of it. And they're all pretty colorful just to like stimulate that, make you happy, the whole dopamine of it, like the magnets click when you move them from one spot to the next, and people just love that. But also, just like you were saying, the whole out of sight, out of mind thing, this thing is in your face. So, I tend to use a combination of, digital and physical things. There's something about the tactile moving of the magnets that makes it more functional also, but the reminders that come up on my phone, if that were the only thing that I would be using, I mean, the reminder list is so long, I don't even see it anymore.
Well, yeah,
So it
yeah.
might work as a reminder, like right now, like, okay, I have a daily thing that's scheduled, like, okay, it's time to go do your evening routine. That reminder, if I pay attention to it, is a good thing for me to get up and actually do it. It's also real easy for me to swipe it away and forget that it's there. So the whole, like, I have this on my refrigerator. I have incorporated it into things that I would naturally be doing anyway. Like, I personally am not going to go to sleep at all unless I have like a snack before bedtime. So now I've got the, chart right there next to where I go to get my snack. And I'm like, oh, while I'm doing my snack, that's when I start my routine. So, like, pairing those things and having it in your face is what has been really successful for me.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I do the same thing. I have a combination of paper and then digital for various things, like maybe longer
Hmm.
term things I might put in, with digital, like an Evernote or something like that. Obviously, my calendar is in, you know, online, digital. So, but I remember I used to work with this woman, you kind of alluded to it, where she had a million tasks in her like Outlook task thing, and they would come up every day, and then she would just like dismiss it for a day. And this
Yep.
she spent more time like dismissing
Yes.
tasks than
Like, something
actually
is not
doing.
working. This is not working.
Yeah. So
For
it's just,
sure.
I'm like, you spend most of your day just like, putting something off, or, remind me in 24 hours or something. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah. I think the other thing that works really well and that we do really well is figuring out how to solve certain problems in a really creative way. So, one of our most popular things is a division of labor chart. So, in a household, people will often be arguing about who is doing what chore. So we have a set that like basically breaks down all of the mental labor in associated with figuring out what all the chores are, what all of the thought processes are that have to go on behind the scenes. So the other thing that I find with a lot of people that have ADHD is they'll get real hyper focused on creating the system, and then by the time it comes time to like actually implement it, they're totally burnt out and don't want to do it anymore. And so the idea is that we have done all of that for you, and then you get to have the fun of like putting the stickers on the magnets and figuring out which ones work for you, and then you still have the energy left to like be able to implement it.
no, and you bring up a good point. We always say, or not we always say, but a lot of people have this, um, I think, myth that those with ADHD are not good at planning. We're actually
Hmm.
really good at planning.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not good at executing what we planned. I
Hmm.
mean, that's the reality of it. So,
Yeah.
but there's certain things I know people that can really dig into building processes. I work with individually, I work with a number of project managers. You know,
Hmm.
they're really good at managing, a project and a workflow and maybe people under them. Their challenge is just like, they're drinking from a fire hose, but they're actually good at planning. So
Yes.
so I
Yes.
totally agree with you on that. So
Yeah.
what uh we talked about it being in our face, but have you done any kind of like even simple research on why that needs to be, why things need to be in our face? Because I know there's like two versions of that. There's the thing you leave on the kitchen counter that after a while you just continue to walk by
Hmm.
because it just becomes part of the landscape,
Right.
versus something in your face and actually getting it done. Have you done any kind of even informal research on that, or?
What I find in my own personal life is it's a matter of like getting into the habit of doing the thing, and then having it come up like as a reminder. So putting it in a place where it makes sense. So that we always think of the refrigerator as being kind of the center of the household because you're visiting it multiple times a day.
Yeah,
But our charts work in a variety of different ways. So we have two different versions of it. One of them is magnetic, and it can either be like put into the wall with screws or hooks, or it can go on like a magnetic refrigerator. And then we also have a version that's sticky, and it's like a really weird kind of like magical material. It'll stick to almost anything over and over and over again. So it depends on, if you are a person who like checks your outfit in the mirror, then having your morning routine on your mirror might work better. We have that they will go in the shower because they're waterproof. So it's a matter of like putting it in a place where it's going to interrupt your thought or
yeah,
be a reminder in your routine versus just setting it on the counter, where you might see it. And moving it around too, because if you start to notice, oh, this is starting to become a piece of furniture, you know, I haven't noticed it in a few days, moving it to a new place, like just something that brings it up and it's not just becoming a habit of ignoring it, which is, I think, why those reminders don't work on the phone is no matter what, they just keep coming up over and over again. The number of times I have dismissed morning pills. I mean, I don't think I've taken them in 3 weeks. Like, I need to put this on the chart instead.
yeah. No, my wife is like, I'll leave something on the counter or somewhere. And finally, after a little while, she's like, is this like permanent or
Yeah.
like, no, it's still there. I just haven't found a good time to take care of it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'll plead guilty on that one. So
Hmm.
it's funny uh, when you talk about like the location, I used to, for years, I would leave my wallet and car keys on top of the coffee machine because I know I would
Yeah.
never forget them because I'm just a
Hmm.
coffee addict. But
Yeah.
something as simple as, the two semi-important things you need to
Hmm.
get out of the house in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's totally a matter of working because no one is the same. So it's a matter of working with what you're not going to forget. I'm the same way with coffee. Like, there's no way I'm leaving the house without coffee.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
my brain doesn't even have to be turned on to know I need that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do you talked about it a little bit. What do you think makes a great visual aid? Is it the colors? Is it the font? What is it?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's the colors, it's the images, but I think we've really tried to make sure that everything is the best that it possibly can be, and we've put so much thought into like every aspect of it. But I think what really makes us unique is it's not just, oh, I mean, first off, there's so many people, entire families of neurodivergent people who have tried to download something off of Etsy that they can DIY. And then again, they run out of steam by the time it comes time to execute it. So the fact that it's like ready to go, I think is a big thing that is important in getting a visual schedule, but also the thought process we have behind keeping things organized in a way that makes sense for implementing it. So like Casey Davis's, for example, one of her charts is closing duties. So this is like a nighttime routine
Mm,
that you can start really small, where at the very top of, because each one of those reusable stickers comes on a sheet that basically explains how you implement it. So you can have her sticker sheet, and at the top, it's like, these are the 5 things that you start with. So we're going to just do 5 things at night. It'll take you 10 minutes. And then you start to build on that with the stickers underneath those 5, where it's like, okay, now I have mastered doing these 5 things at night. I no longer am dreading this. Like, I've been in a routine for a couple
yeah.
weeks. Now I can add in these other things so I don't forget to plug in my laptop or my phone. And I'm doing something nice for tomorrow's me, which I love that about her method is like the idea behind the closing duties is you're going to do these 5 things. It's like cleaning off the counter, starting the dishwasher, as a kindness for tomorrow's you, so that when you wake up in the morning, you have a space that's functional. And then you're building on it. And before you know it, like now you've got a system that's really working for you.
Oh yeah, I hate like getting up in the morning to like a sink full of dishes or
Same.
stuff like that. It just, I mean, and it's not perfect every day. We try to kind of hit the reset button here every Sunday
Hmm.
night.
Yes.
Things like, we'll cook food for a few days, get the dishes, get the not only the dishes done, but the dishwasher empty, so then you can put more in it
Yeah.
without it. I mean, so those types of things. But you're right. It's like that
Yeah.
nightly routine. I don't think people put enough um thought into that
Hmm.
that because that directly affects the following day, you
Yes.
know and if you haven't prepared the night before, that means the next morning's going to be a dumpster fire, and that just kind of dictates the way
Right.
your entire day is going to go. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really unpleasant. I think the things that have really made a difference in my mental health are starting the dishwasher before bed, even if it's not full all the way,
Yeah.
so that in the morning I can empty it. It's like if I don't start the dishwasher and the next morning the dishes are dirty, then I have to run it in the middle of the day, and then my whole routine is screwed up
Mm.
because now I have to think about it. It's no longer a habit. It's like just run the freaking thing, even if it's not full. It's made a big difference for me.
Yeah. Yeah. What I would think also implementing your systems, or even something else, these visual
Hmm.
aids, whether it's around the house or even in the workplace. It does help with those initiating the tasks, the completing them, the,
Hmm.
you know, quite frankly, the aiding in the short-term memory, which is,
Yes.
a huge challenge for us. Um, and just kind of reducing
Hmm.
overwhelm, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
achieves a lot of
absolutely.
goals. Yeah,
It does.
yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. So, all right. So, talk to us about some of the charts that you have developed that you're offering right now.
Yeah, I think for adults, we have a lot of the charts are using our task charts for adults. So we have the ones that we just launched where we did a self-care one, which is just trying to make sure that you aren't the last on your list as far as like, remembering that you can take care of yourself by, drinking your water, going outside, doing all these things that we know are good for us, but we forget to do them. So you can like incorporate that into your daily routine. We also just released a daily chart for adults, which has, some of us just forget to eat lunch. Some of us forget to have a snack, so to just kind of put out those magnets to remind you, oh, yeah, this is the order that I'm going to do things, is really helpful. Our most popular charts for adults, I would say, are probably the Casey Davis collaborations. We have her closing duties, and then we also have her room reset because she has, that same idea that you were just talking about of like resetting the room. She has a whole chart dedicated to that. We also have what I call the clutter buster, which is basically breaking down how to tidy a room based on like the color of the items in the room. So if you are facing a cluttered space, it's basically a step by step of how you can do that. And then maybe the most popular is our grown-up chore charts. And those are 3 sticker sheets, and then we also have expansion sheets if you have pets or you have kids, all the chores that are related to those things. But just keeping on top of remembering, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do this week. You can plot it out on the weekly chart by moving, the chores, that you're going to do that day, which if you're in a partnership really helps decrease the amount of arguments that you're having because you can go through and have a conversation about whose responsibility is whose.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 different task charts. You can label them with your names. And then you can see whether it's done or not. You can see if they have their weekly chart next to it, what day they're planning on doing it. And then instead of having to have this like verbal handoff or this like conversation, like, Tim, you said you were going to take the trash out. And then Tim's all defensive. He's like, I was planning on doing that tomorrow. And,
Yeah.
Jane is like hell you were, it just turns into a whole thing.
Right. Yep.
It just helps so much, especially when somebody in the household is neurodivergent and their partner is like, I don't trust that you're actually going to do this. It keeps people accountable and it stops the arguments because Tim actually did plot out that he was planning on doing that tomorrow.
He was
Jane.
getting
So
there.
you can,
Tim was
right,
getting there.
Exactly. It's okay,
Yeah.
Jane. He's really got it. It's cool. And you can also see visually, like, okay, actually, Tim has done 50% of the tasks that you guys agreed on last week. Jane has done 40%. Give Jim some credit, or, the other way around. So it just helps decrease a lot of arguments in the house, and it makes sure that certain things get done, because when it's, again, out of sight, out of mind, you might be thinking every morning, oh, I meant to change the sheets on the bed, and now it's been 3 weeks. And every time I get into bed, I think, oh, I should have done that.
Yeah.
You take that all those to-dos out of your brain, because you sat down with all of these tasks and you figured it out ahead of time. So you don't have to try and remember what all of them are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's all great points. And of course you have the charts for kids, because I know
Yes.
a lot of people listening to this have kids.
Yeah.
They may be growing up neurodivergent as well. Sometimes it runs in the family. So yeah, I think so. So it can be a family affair
Yes.
of visual prompts and cues for everybody. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We found most of my research in the early days of this was about why it is that this works so well for kids. And, developmentally, they can't keep information in their heads. And so that's why they're constantly asking questions, or why they are acting like they have never, had to put their shoes on in the morning. And every
Yeah.
morning you're like, for the love of God, child, like, you've been putting on your shoes every day for the past 3 years. Why are
Yeah.
you acting like this new information? And
Mm.
so it really helps to empower them so that you aren't constantly having to micromanage
Yeah.
them.
I know
And
we're all shouting like, when are they going to
I
get it?
know, I
Yeah.
know, I know. Basically, when they're 25,
Yeah, exactly.
super fun,
We've been
super
going through
fun.
this every day for a while now.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yes. Yeah, we also have this really cool bracelet. It's like for anybody who grew up in the 90s, it's like a slap bracelet.
mm.
So it's very fun, but it has a big magnetic thing on it. So you can put the magnet that you're working on the bracelet. So when you're that whole thing where you're like, I know I came in this room for a reason, you can just like look at what task you're working
Oh, I
on,
might
and then
need that actually.
yeah, it's really fun, and it's
Mm.
really functional.
Yeah,
So, and then it sticks right back on the chart because it's magnetic itself, so you're hopefully not going to lose it.
exactly. Cool. You've thought of everything.
We
All
try
right.
to.
So it's mightyandbright.com.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for the insight, the info, the geeking out on a little bit of science. Okay. I always love to kind of dig into that. And yeah, I encourage everybody to hit Mighty and Bright. We will have the link in the show notes, as us podcasters say. So thanks for connecting and coming on and giving us a little bit of info.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
Cool. All right. We'll see you soon.